does not respect you or your skills? What will they do when they get you? Fire you, victimize you? If they don't respect you, how can you trust them?
WEFM, the new fresh sound. What's that? What's that? 997. Activated morning of WEFM 99.9 is on.
And time right FPG, it is 9:25, and already we have somebody on the line for our Talk to Us segment. Queen's morning.
Good morning. If UFC lose, I would advocate for the doctor to come on the program 5 days a week. And on two basis, you will no longer be the chairman of the Cannabis Authority, and you will not be on taxpayers' money time advocating on behalf of the government. Some time ago when Julia Francis was on radio, he said that he was listening to New Times program, and he heard I think it's more advice on the guy named because I think some South Central going on somewhere that he was. I think he was working at the park at the time. He said he called the boss to find out if he's on the job. In other words, if he's on the job at the back, he should be calling New Times radio. And I'm saying, even if he's working at the back, he has half an hour lunch, he has an hour lunch, break. And he could call them, in that time he could call. And then, Dianna Thompson, every Monday, he's in the studio WEFM when he's supposed to be at the job in his office at the Cannabis Authority. Now, I will have no problem if he gets a slot in the night, just like kids have slot in the night on WEFM. If he goes Star FM 4:30 in the evening, or Star...
Or 8 o'clock on Wednesday.
He go on...
Or 8 o'clock on Wednesday.
And go and sit there on a program. I have no problem with that.
Or 8 p.m. on Wednesday. 8 p.m. on Wednesday.
All right.
No problem with that.
Okay, good.
But that's the politics, I don't care.
Yeah.
But this time you're on taxes one time, and you're on radio, just hope you have been lose. So that you know, so I won't have to worry about I won't care if you come on here and say, well, I know you won't be chairman of the Cannabis Authority no more.
All right, okay, Queen.
All right, have a good day. Bye-bye.
So what Queens is saying is that he should call the head of the Cannabis Authority. He should call the chief executive officer of the Cannabis Authority and tell him that Gerald Thompson is on radio on Monday morning. You understand? Call him. His number is 528-6600. Call him so that he will tell his staff. But the point is that, there's no doubt that somebody like me has the right to be here. I see persons coming here and advocating, whether opposition politicians and so forth. The issue is not about me. Nobody's voting for Gerald Thompson. You understand? And if you are advocating that Gerald Thompson, he's going to be discriminated against. Therefore, all people are listening. All of you who basically think, or people may think that you are a ULP supporter. Queens is saying that the day after the election, you should apply to WEFM too, to be on the radio because you won't have a job. You understand? Queen is saying you won't have a job either. You understand? And that now, I'm a principled individual. No doubt if you have to be I would naturally resign because my policy is so different. And remember,
You resign from cannabis?
I would naturally resign. You know what I mean?
But
Truthfully, I would naturally resign. But I also expect that. But I'm an individual who's relatively comfortable. And I could do that. I'm not coming to the most the twilight of my own career.
Okay.
But for sure, the things that I do, and the many other things that I do, you know, I am pleased that WEFM has allowed me to come on a Monday morning. Please, I do not get paid for doing this. I do this voluntarily.
And I really want to.
You know, I do this voluntarily, and on Wednesday night, I do that voluntarily. I want everybody to know that Gerald Thompson not getting an extra salary. During the time of COVID, when I contributed to that, some people say, why is Gerald Thompson there? I wasn't getting paid for the contributions I made going around the country on my time in evenings and at nights and so forth. People don't realize I go to a lot of different places, giving lectures and talks. I go to other countries as a talking on various subjects. I don't publicize it. I don't get paid for these things. This is my contribution. I'm an individual who practiced in the United States for many years. And I made a little much different investment. I own property elsewhere. I want everybody, I'm with just one individual. I own property outside of St. Vincent, you know.
In Trinidad?
Well, I don't own in Trinidad, you know. But I own it. I own elsewhere, but you know, I have a right. I have a fundamental right, and I own property there in St. Vincent. So the point I'm making, Queens is saying, Jared Thompson is white, but I'd love to see him lose his job. Queens, call in. Who else you want to see lose his job? Everybody, call in. Your neighbor.
All right,
Your neighbor. Go to your neighbor. Who you want to lose a job?
I just always have this issue about people commenting on people doing stuff during working hours when sometimes
No,
they're actually doing, when you actually make up for it afterwards. But anyhow, caller, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I think Dr. Thompson is making the gentleman on. The gentleman is saying, you're supposed to be on your job. And while that is so, you're on the radio advocating for a past position.
I'm explaining a part.
Whether you're getting paid from these people. You're supposed to be on your job.
All right, that's the
Well,
essence of your point, your contribution? Okay, all right.
But
Thank
you know, I'm also talking nonsense. I'm actually explaining some important things. And this doesn't have to be about me. I came here talking this morning about the manifesto, explaining about this, what I consider, some people consider being gimmicks. That hurts a lot of people, you know? That hurts a lot of people.
All right,
That's unfortunate.
all right, David's been trying to call for a while.
Oh gosh, that doesn't matter.
Hi, Dave, morning. Dave, good morning.
They will talk about equal billing.
Dave?
But Dave is technologically challenged, boy. Go ahead.
Dave? Hi. And I don't agree with that, but that's your opinion. But anyhow, all right. Yeah. Yes. All right, yes, so thank you. All right, I noticed several persons were trying to call a while ago, so you can try calling back now. All righty, what was I going to talk? All right, so, okay. Hi, Paul, good morning.
Hi, yes, good morning. With reference to Dr. Thompson, I think the gentleman was a conflict of interest. Now, what I have noticed, there are many persons working in the public service and other areas who also have their radio on and possibly may contribute or not whilst they're on the job. Because sometimes there are some personal issues that need to be addressed by one or two individuals. So that's my comment. Sorry, I didn't even tell you good morning. I beg your pardon. But another thing I want to say, yes, I was looking at the ULP manifesto last night late. I just would like to know from both sides of the coin, their monies. You have income coming in and you have expenditures, and no doubt I haven't seen the NDP's proposals, but ULP plan to do a hell of a lot of things, which is fine. But where and this came up earlier on, where is the money coming from? And what obligations do we have, if any money is coming from elsewhere, do we have to pay it back? And what interest, if any, is going to be called upon us? I don't see any raising taxes or any other types of revenue being lifted. Of course, that would be very bad policy for anybody wanting a vote. But I think we need to be clear that what is coming in and what is going out. Even us as householders, we have to know how much we have to play with, where it's coming from, what obligations we have, and how are we going to spend it. So I would appreciate an answer to that if at all possible. And thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. Madam, that is so wonderful a question, because that's been the core of the discussion. In the past, the NDP has said, Dianna's favorite word, CBI. CBI is going to pay for everything. But now that's gone out the window. And instead, they're now saying we're going to privatize certain things to make money to help pay for things, privatize the hospital, privatize the food, and go into mainland China. But that mainland China issue is also quite complicated. So in terms of money, I don't think anyone is going to directly raise taxes, but they could end up raising costs in other ways. Because if you privatize the hospital, the low cost of the studies and so forth, and things that have been done, x-rays and so forth, would naturally increase because the private owners or the people who will want something.
But if you spoke about the NDP side, the manifesto hasn't been released, so why don't you speak about the ULP side in reference to what the caller was asking?
I am talking about, but time doesn't really permit me to really.
But I
give me the time.
I can't understand why you went straight to talking about what the NDP did when the manifesto came out last night.
Because it is clear that has been the policy of the debate. Even the ideas they put on a small card, the 4 things they might put on a small card.
I find you deflect really easy with that one.
I deflect, no.
Yes, because, okay, all right, somebody on you like, sorry.
What's going on?
Hi, Jeff, morning. Morning.
Yes, I'm fine. Jeff, yes. Yeah.
thing of it is that most times you would hear that information disclosed in the budget. I don't see necessarily any manifesto that they go into
Jeff, I want to point out what happened. What is said in the manifesto? And
where
really,
it
will take us several days before most people have read the manifesto. One of the core things is that right now our GMP is 3 billion. Our GMP has increased some 4 times compared to what it was before, 800 million and so forth. You know, it was 4 billion. If we want to raise it to 4 billion, that 4 billion in terms of what the country earns is going to come through growth. And with our 4.9% GDP that we're getting right now, you're going to see growth in the economy. And that growth in the economy is going to mean from your direct investment. In other words, having a beaches come in here, having a beaches come in here and a marriott come here is not necessarily costing the government any significant money, but in terms of the jobs it creates, the additional 2,000 plus jobs it creates has a knock-on effect. And the growth in the economy is what is actually helps to pay it. Some people don't really see it, but in terms of all the other little revenues that come in from growth, from the increase in your
Morning, good morning. How are you this morning? You have to. You can do a lot in 2 minutes. Come on.
I should be banned from doing that because I should be, as the chief executive officer, I should tell all my workers they can't do anything. Come on, you know what I mean? I tell you something. It's a fundamental human right that somebody has to be able to contribute. If we stifle that, then that is take away from the retention concept that we have.
I just have a, go ahead, Coach.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Well,
Yeah. All right.
But Kojo, I know really do come here, but you see, I don't think Gerald Thompson goes and said anything outrageous. I don't slander the person. I think my contribution is one that comes from a certain level of professionalism. You know, I have a little bit of experience, and I bring that to bear in this very short space of time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, but listen, I tell you something, I am a person, I'm quite comfortable. I'm not 22 years old. You know what I mean? And the rest of my life, I'm not Dianna's age or Roleza's age and so forth. Even though Roleza and I have so much in similarity to each other. You know what I mean? That's right.
All right. Could you, yeah,
Bye.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah. Mm. All right, could you? All right. Mhm. All right. All right. I know that we overtime. I just wanted to add this extra piece because I am generally, I have personal concerns about doing something else while you're on the job. And I suppose maybe it's because I've always worked with persons, employers who have been flexible, right? Like I was a part of different service organizations, and there were occasions when I had to do things during working hours. But what it is that I did is that I made back up the time at another occasion, whether it is I work late, a particular day, work through my lunch hour, etc. So I think maybe when it is that I hear this type of conversation, I am not necessarily a stickler of during working hours, yes, you have to be on your job and you need to be performing. But there are many occasions when persons go above and beyond for their organization. And because of that, they're allowed a little bit of flexibility to do other things, right? Because when you look at so many persons in service organizations, whether it's Rotaract, Lions, whether it's youth, etc., sometimes there are times when you have to do things during your working hours. But my thing is always you give back that time to your employer, and that giving back of the time could always be either you're working weekends or you're catching up on weekends or you work later on in the day. So
But
I suppose I'm a little bit, I'm always a little bit
Roleza,
thing with this
it
conversation.
comes to government policies, not about that. Let me say, I believe that there are a lot of government officials that can better explain things. You should see the NIS coming here, trying to explain some of their policies, and we'll go to different radio stations. I don't think enough of that is done.
No, but no,
Let me
explain
say. I don't think enough of that is done. And unfortunately, it then is left to other persons who have to explain what is taking place. Because sometimes the representatives and politicians themselves are not necessarily going to come on the radio. You may hear the Prime Minister, generally on certain radio stations and so forth, you know. You know what I'm saying? You may hear the Prime Minister on radio station, and if you could say to the Prime Minister, rather than being on 7:05, he should be in his office at 8 o'clock in the morning.
I don't think it's Randy right. The correct
What I'm saying is that in terms of general information out there, what is happening, explaining what may be happening in a Ministry of Health, what may be happening in terms of every single week a new policy, there are not enough persons who are able to come out and answer those questions. And you will read and interpret it as journalists, you will try and interpret, you don't necessarily have all the information. I am saying I don't have all the information too, but I can go down some particular way and be able to help persons understand some of those things.
Okay. All right. So with that, we are heading on out of this segment.